Oscar Piastri was leading in Qatar until his own team made the call that ended his championship hopes. Now the FIA has revealed new evidence showing McLaren ignored critical data during the safety car. Piastri didn't lose the race on track, he lost it from the pit wall. And the radios prove it. Subscribe now, because if this was sabotage or just incompetence, the truth will explode in Abu Dhabi. Oscar Piastri came into the Qatar Grand Prix as the man to beat. The fastest in qualifying, the sharpest in race trim, and the most consistent in managing tire wear. Every number said this was his race to lose. And for the first few laps, he did everything right. He managed the pace from the front, kept Verstappen at bay, and looked completely in control. But in Formula One, you don't just need speed. You need timing, strategy, and trust. And that's exactly where it all broke apart. On lap 7, the race flipped. A midfield incident triggered a safety car, the kind of opportunity that teams wait for all weekend. Red Bull saw it immediately. Verstappen boxed. Ferrari reacted. So did Mercedes. But McLaren? They stayed out. No split strategy. No second guessing. They held both cars on track, giving up the single biggest advantage any frontrunner could ask for, a free stop under neutral conditions. At the time, fans were confused. But now, with the FIA's full post-race report released, confusion has turned to outrage. The data proves that McLaren not only had the opportunity to pit, they had the simulations in hand that told them they should. Internal predictive models, now confirmed by FIA analysts, showed a 70% chance that staying out would lead to a net loss of position. And yet, they chose not to act. Why? Oscar Piastri even questioned it live over the radio. In the clearest sign of driver awareness, he asked mid-safety car, "Are we sure this is right?" The response was robotic, "Stay out. Track position is priority." And just like that, the opportunity was gone. When Piastri finally pitted on lap 24, Verstappen was already ahead with better tires and no need to fight on track. The lead was lost without a single wheel-to-wheel moment. What followed was hard to watch. Piastri pushed, closing the gap by tenths, but clean air and superior race management from Red Bull made the gap stick. McLaren's faster car was now stuck chasing, burning through rubber just to keep pace. The result? A second-place finish that felt like a defeat, not because the driver underperformed, but because the team froze at the critical moment. Now, the championship picture is on a knife's edge. With only one round remaining in Abu Dhabi, McLaren has gone from confident to vulnerable. The trust between Piastri and the pit wall is cracked. The FIA's confirmation of the data doesn't just expose a mistake, it suggests negligence at a time when perfection was the only acceptable outcome. This wasn't just a lost race. It was a lost opportunity to control the championship. Subscribe now, because the fallout from Qatar is not over. And if this is how McLaren handles pressure, then the season finale in Abu Dhabi could be one of the most explosive endings Formula One has seen in decades. Qatar was supposed to be McLaren's ultimate statement. The MCL39 had looked bulletproof all weekend, dominating every sector, every long-run simulation, and every qualifying split. Oscar Piastri didn't just take pole, he dismantled the field with clean, precise laps that confirmed the team had nailed the setup for Lusail. The temperature was under control. The tire wear was minimal. The strategy was supposedly clear. Everything pointed toward a lights-to-flag win. And for the opening laps, that vision was unfolding perfectly. Piastri launched cleanly off the line, held position through the opening corners, and immediately started building a gap. Verstappen, stuck behind, could do little more than manage his tires and hope for a mistake. But none came. Sector by sector, Piastri edged away, especially in Sector 2, where his car rotated with confidence and delivered maximum downforce in the sweeping left-right combinations. Then came lap 7. A contact incident further down the field brought out the safety car. The kind of moment that transforms a race. In modern Formula One, these neutralized laps offer the single best opportunity to pit, saving 10 to 12 seconds compared to a green flag stop. Red Bull reacted instantly. Verstappen was in. So were Mercedes and Ferrari. Teams with less to lose and everything to gain. But McLaren? Silence. Then, box opposite Verstappen. When Red Bull boxed, McLaren didn't. The FIA's official post-race strategy breakdown confirmed what McLaren already knew, that staying out cost them the lead, and likely the win. According to the data, the optimal strategy, during a safety car between laps 5 and 10, was to stop immediately regardless of track position. The chance of regaining position later with tire advantage was minimal in clean air circuits like Qatar. Once McLaren missed that window, they were forced into a reactive, compromised race. By the time Piastri finally stopped on lap 24, Verstappen was already ahead, with warm tires, clean air, and a 2-second buffer. McLaren had essentially traded a dominant lead for a blind hope that track position would somehow hold through an impossible stint. It didn't. Verstappen didn't need to pass on track. He didn't even need to push. The undercut was enough. What stings more is that McLaren knew the risk. Their race modeling tools showed a high likelihood of losing the lead if they ignored the safety car stop. The simulations, which factor tire wear curves, safety car deltas, and rejoin gaps, were clear. Even if Piastri could extend his stint by 5 laps, the lap time delta wouldn't be enough to clear Verstappen. But the team hesitated. They clung to an outdated scenario and watched the race slip away in silence. Now, the FIA's confirmation of this data makes the loss even harder to digest. It wasn't just a missed call. It was a breakdown in decision-making during the most important race of the season. A team that had all the tools, all the information, and all the pace but none of the clarity when it mattered. That kind of mistake doesn't just hurt in the moment. It echoes into the championship. When the FIA published the complete lap time and sector data post-race, the full story behind McLaren's collapse became unmistakable. Piastri's initial stint showed almost perfect consistency. From lap 1 to lap 16, his pace dropped by just 0.3, a signal of elite tire management. In normal race conditions, that would be championship-level driving. But normal conditions ended with the lap 7 safety car, and that's when McLaren made the only decision they couldn't afford to get wrong. Looking at the raw deltas, Verstappen's average lap time after his stop was a full 0.7 quicker than Piastri's despite being on the same tire compound. Why? Because Verstappen had the undercut, clean air, and a clear track. Meanwhile, Piastri was fighting dirty air from lap traffic and being forced to preserve tires stretched beyond their intended window. By lap 23, the lap time gap had grown so large that Piastri's re-entry after his eventual stop left him in net second. Telemetry overlays provided by the FIA gave even deeper insight. Piastri's throttle application remained smooth, his braking points were optimal, and steering angles showed no signs of overdriving. In short, he was doing everything right. The issue wasn't performance. It was the physics of tire wear and the math of pit stop deltas. By staying out, McLaren left him exposed to Verstappen's momentum, and even a perfect drive couldn't overcome that mechanical disadvantage. Another key stat, Piastri lost nearly 22.5 seconds in the pit cycle, while Verstappen's undercut gave him over 18 seconds of gain by lap 22. That 4-second swing was decisive. Once Piastri rejoined, he couldn't close the gap, not because he lacked pace, but because Verstappen could control the tempo of the race from the front. This is what modern F1 strategy is all about, managing gaps, not just speed. Interestingly, FIA data showed that Lando Norris was on a nearly identical race pace to Piastri during the first stint, but because he pitted under safety car and then suffered in traffic, his final position was even lower. That confirmed one brutal truth: McLaren got both strategies wrong. They gambled on clean air and sacrificed tactical control, and both of their drivers paid for it in different ways. The data doesn't lie, the wrong call punished them twice. The most damning figure? The post-race FIA Decision Risk Rating, a newly introduced internal metric for evaluating pit strategy compliance. McLaren scored one of the highest red flags of the season for Qatar, a level 4 strategic deviation, meaning the call they made actively increased the probability of losing positions based on live predictive modeling. In plain language, their own system warned them, and they ignored it. McLaren had the best long-run car. They had the pole sitter. They had the data. But Formula One isn't about who has the most information. It's about who acts on it. And in Qatar, Red Bull acted. McLaren froze. The numbers confirm it, the radios confirm it, and now the FIA confirms it. In a title fight decided by millimeters and milliseconds, indecision is the one thing you cannot afford. From the moment the MCL39 hit the track in Qatar, it was clear McLaren had engineered a near-perfect package for the Lusail circuit. The car's mechanical balance was exceptional through high-speed corners, particularly in sectors 2 and 3, where lateral grip and aerodynamic efficiency are paramount. Oscar Piastri's car glided through the long-radius corners with minimal steering correction, highlighting both aerodynamic stability and rear-end confidence, a rare combination under high thermal stress. In practice simulations, Piastri consistently posted the lowest tire degradation rate among the top 5 cars. The MCL39's ability to maintain lateral load across long stints without overheating the rear tires gave McLaren the upper hand, especially in Qatar's harsh night temperatures, where track evolution typically spikes. The team's data confirmed they had a sustainable race pace advantage of around 0.4 per lap over Red Bull once the first 10 laps were completed. What made the car truly dominant wasn't just pace, it was how easily Piastri could access it. His onboard footage showed smooth weight transfer, even throttle modulation, and laser-precise inputs through technical corners like turn 8 and turn 11. This driving profile maximized the aerodynamic efficiency of the floor, diffuser, and rear wing areas where McLaren had invested significant mid-season updates to close the gap to Red Bull in terms of downforce-to-drag ratio. McLaren's engineers, under Andrea Stella's leadership, had brought a rear suspension geometry that favored rotation under load. That allowed Piastri to carry more speed through mid-corner phases without destabilizing the rear, essential for a track like Lusail where corner exit speeds set up most DRS zones. Red Bull, in contrast, struggled with traction spikes and rear instability on lower fuel runs, confirming that McLaren had found the more drivable baseline. In qualifying trim, the MCL39 was unshakable. Piastri's pole lap wasn't just fast, it was clean. No oversteer corrections. No brake locking. Just an uninterrupted transfer of power and grip. GPS overlays revealed that Piastri gained nearly 2/10 through Sector 2 alone, not because of engine power, but because of superior aero load distribution through the fast-changing radius corners. That type of performance can't be faked, it's engineered. But none of that mattered when it came time to execute the strategy. The very strengths of the car, its ability to manage tires, run deep into stints, and deliver stable pace, became misleading. McLaren trusted the car so much, they overlooked the reality of modern race dynamics. They assumed their long-run strength would overcome a track position deficit. But on a circuit with low overtaking probability and high tire thermal sensitivity, that assumption became a fatal flaw. What makes the situation even more painful is that McLaren didn't lose Qatar because the car wasn't good enough. They lost because they believed it was too good to fail. Their faith in the car's performance blinded them to the strategic basics. You pit under a safety car. You cover your rival. You do not try to win the race by being smarter than the numbers. The car was ready. Piastri was ready. But the strategy was not.